Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is our Saturday show. But you know what? This was meant to be a Q&A, but because I had a lot of feedback where people wanted their websites reviewed, I thought we'll just make this live show about website reviews. So I've got 3 websites I'll be reviewing today. And if you'd like to send your website for reviewing, all the comments, all the links to that is in the show notes below. Right, if you can hear me loud and clear, please do let me know in the comments because we want to make sure that we start off on a good note. Right. Can you all hear me loud and clear? Okay, it looks like we have some thumbs up, which is fantastic. Great. Okay, so before we get started, I have some news to go through. Yesterday, the update from Elegant Themes was released, and now we officially have custom post types, and this is really, really awesome. So I will be doing some tutorials on how to use custom post types with LearnDash and also with WooCommerce. And also, if you're just joining us, please do help me share this stream. It's also on Facebook and it's also on YouTube. So if you can share this and get this to as many people as possible, I would really, really appreciate that. Okay, so right, let's take a look. Right, so we have MCP Consultants from Grenada. Nice to see you. Excellent. We have Gadan, I think, Katri, saying hi, Mac. Nice to see you. Ratapuller also is joining us here from Spain. That's really cool. Right. Okay. So let's get started. Okay. So it looks like my sound is good. Right. So as I mentioned, I have 3 websites I'll be reviewing today. And you can also ask me questions throughout this stream. So I'll just keep an eye on my comments just to make sure that everything is running smoothly. But like I said, if you can help me by sharing this stream, I'll really, really appreciate it. Right, so this episode is brought to you by Divicake.com. Check out their huge selection of Divi themes, layouts, and plugins. The link to that will be in the show notes below. Okay, so I'm going to start off with this website here. In fact, let me get the name right. So this website here was submitted by Brenda. Let me just show you the website. For some reason, things have disappeared. Okay, here we go. So in this case, this does not work at all. I would say to Brenda, please get rid of those colors, you know, the bright yellows and the blues. I know you're trying to highlight that information in there in the button, but there are other ways to do it. And how to easily achieve that is by having a dark color in the background and having a foreground button which is lighter or really light. So that really makes that stand out. So by using this, on the site on full width sections, I think they would look even way much better because the image is really striking. And by having huge images there, it just makes the whole website look a bit more, professional, and also much better at communicating the message. Now, let me just give you an example here of websites which sell products. So if I go here to, let's say I go to, let's take a look here. Better. Okay, now the next thing we're going to look at here, because I'm following some standard things where I take a look at 7 things which are pretty much your choice of color, the fonts, the layout, and that kind of stuff. So here I'm also looking at those things. So if I look here at the slider, we notice that the slider here has I know these are small things, but these small things and this attention to detail makes a big difference when you design websites. Okay. So add a secondary navigation to your page, and that will make things look much better. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick look here at the questions and see if there's anything here that is mentioned on the chat. Right. Right. Okay. I see we have a problem here. Okay. I'm really sorry about that. I've just noticed here on the comments that every time I go to the screen where we have the website, there's no sound. I've just fixed that. So please confirm if this is working. So I'm just going to switch over now to that screen and let me know if you can hear the sound. So right now I'm on the screen. If you can hear me speak, please do let me know. And then what I'll do is I'll start all over again. Really sorry about that. Okay, so if you can hear me while I'm on this screen, please let me know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch back over here and just check and make sure. Okay, so I can see here the feedback is good. Okay, fantastic. So the sound is clear now. Okay, so what I'll have to do now is I have to start all over again. So I'm really sorry about that. Right. So I'm just going to go back over here to this site and let's go through it one more time. Okay, so when I first came to this website, I was really amazed by the choice of the design. This website is designed using Divi, and it doesn't look like your typical Divi website, which I think is brilliant. So that's one positive that I'd like to give to Brenda here. Now, as we take a look at this website, we also notice that there's quite a lot of information here, which is fantastic because you don't want to go to a website which doesn't have a lot of information. Now, let's start off by talking about things that I think could be improved on this page. So first of all, I'll say overall, I really like this page or this website, but there's a few things that I think can be done to make it even better. Now, first of all, if I take a look here at this horse going over this mountain or hill, it looks striking. And right now, because the image is small, we can't really see the detail and the intensity of what is going on in that picture. So I think this will drive even more emotion if that image was nice and big, filling up the whole section. So I would say go with that, use a larger image and make that really, really striking. Okay, and also here, as I take a look here at the slides, we also see that there's a lot of detail here on the slides, which is fantastic. Here we have some trophies. I would say this needs to be really nice and big so we can see what is really happening. And even this one here, there's an image I saw here which is fantastic, like this one right here. I think this is brilliant, and I would even go further and go into Photoshop and make sure that this text right here is easier to read because it's sort of like buried into this image. So I'm talking about this text here. Now, the other thing now, and this is the things that I think needs to be improved. The name of, I assume, Lisa here is the one that's riding the horse. If you notice here, the text, I mean, there's no need to have the name over here because we have it over here on the right. I mean, why duplicate that? It's not really bringing any benefit. In fact, we're adding even more clutter to this beautiful image. So I would remove that name and also CFR qualification and add it over here to the left. And also, what I'll do instead of having this blue, the color now does not really work with what we have, these browns and greens and, you know, it's these earthy colors. So these earthy colors are really fantastic because from what I can see here, it's all about the horses. So these are the colors that need to go with this website. So the moment now we start adding blue, it doesn't really fit in. And if you go and use these color tools or even color.adobe.com, you'll notice that these colors will not even fit any palette. Okay, so I tried this and it doesn't really work. So you want to really use colors that work well together. And now in Divi, we I think the last update, there was a color management update, which I think you should use because it generates colors automatically. So those are the colors you want to use throughout your design. So that's the one thing I would do here. So add large images here for your main section and add your description over here to the right and not clutter the image because the image is nice and beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here again to the site and let's take a look at what else can be done. Now, if we look here at this paragraph, okay, I would say this one here is good because it's leaving some space here on the left, some padding, which is fantastic. But we are losing consistency now because when we take a look here on the bottom, right, we've lost the consistency here because we have very little space or very little padding between the edge of this area here, this dark area, and the paragraphs. So I would go in and fix that. Now, why is this important? Now, the reason why this is important is I know it's minor detail that I'm going through this, but in design, these small things make a huge difference. Okay, so just make sure you go in and just tidy up those little things that I'm talking about. Right, so let's talk about the next thing, and let's talk about the map. The map here, I think it's out of place because ideally you want to have this on your contact page, or if you really have to have the map on the page, have it here on the bottom on its own section. Because right now it's not really giving me much information. So if I click here, you can see it's just way zoomed in into this road. So it doesn't give me like perspective. And I really have to squint my eyes to really see where everything is. Okay, so before I move on to the next thing, I'm just going to take a quick look here at the comments and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these and okay, so I have a comment here from Nigel saying, does that mean she should change her logo, her blue logo? Just an idea. Yes, I think that's a very good comment that you've made there. The logo needs to be changed. I would rather have the earthy colors on the logo or even have it white, just plain. If you do have to have the graphics on there, I would use colors that work well with the site because that blue does not really work with the site. Okay. Bright Spark Media says, how can we submit a website for review? I have the link in the comments box, so just take a look at the comments. There's a link in there which says submit your website for review. If you can't see it, I'll just copy and paste it again quickly here. Right, so there's the link to submit your website. Okay. Monique says, can you go to the previous website you reviewed? We could not hear your critique. I started doing it again, so you should be able to hear now. Right, I'm just checking to see if there's more. Okay, brilliant. So let's continue. Right, so let's continue here with, right, so over here now, we're on the sidebar, we have this address. Again, I think you've well labeled the contact us here, it's nice and clear. So there's no need to have this address over here because it's really taken over the content, which I think is useful for visitors to see. So I would remove this address because it's just adding a lot of clutter to the website. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So keep things simple, okay? Over here, we also have the sidebar, which has these links. Now, most of these are already over here on the top on the navigation. So what I would do in this case is I would add a secondary navigation onto the top here because, again, as I mentioned, you want to keep this nice and clear. Now, Before I move off from this page, there's one final thing or two things I need to talk about, the headlines. So first of all, these headlines here, they need to be slightly bigger. And I can see here there's consistency. That's great, but they need to be slightly bigger. And also the text here needs to be slightly bigger as well, because right now I'm actually zoomed in for me to actually see. I'm actually 150% zoomed in. So if I zoom out to 100%, you can see how tiny that text is. And we have all this space over here on the left and the right where we have this wood. Right, and in fact, now that we're talking about this background, now this wood here, what would work as well is if you could have an image which goes across all the way down, because this breaks here that we have in this beautiful image, they are actually distracting. So I would have an image of this wood that goes all the way down, okay? If you don't have an image that goes all the way down, maybe fade it into a color. That works even much better. Okay, so over here on this YouTube video, this thumbnail does not really look flattering. So what I would do is I would use, instead of adding it this way, I would add this YouTube video using the video module, because the video module allows us to add an image and also have an icon color. So I would have that because that will make this look much better. The default thumbnail that's being pulled up from YouTube does not really work in this case, because this does not really look, very nice. So I would go in and use the video module. Okay, if you're just joining us, we're doing a review of your website. So please, if you can, I'll really appreciate this. Share this live stream with everyone that you know, so that we get more interaction and more people get to benefit from these reviews. Okay, so we're done now with this main page. Let's move over to the inside pages. So I'm just going to go in here, Order USA. Let's take a look here. I think this is the order page. Right. Okay, now here are things that could be improved on this page. I would have, instead of having this, I would actually have a long, in fact, I would have a section that's going across in order for these products to be aligned correctly. Because right now we're having this long, thin description going all the way down. So you really want to minimize this, because it doesn't really look, it doesn't really work and doesn't make it really easier to use. So in fact, let me test something here. If I were to drag this and view this as if I was on a mobile device, how would this look? Okay, so I guess it's okay on the mobile device, but there's a lot of scrolling. As you can see, there's a lot of scrolling going on. So I would break that page and just add more space by basically adding columns here, or just having a large section. Okay, and the other thing as well, I mentioned this on the main page, we don't really need the sidebar because this page is about the orders. So let's stick to the orders, okay? And also this map needs to go. It doesn't need to be there. It can be either on the bottom here or on the contact page. Now, I'm not sure what this is. Let me just click on it. Okay, so this is a PDF. Instead of linking somewhere else, I would actually make it a downloadable PDF. So I would, that's what I would do here. And also, why not highlight it or give it its own space and really make this nice and big so that it's much easier to see, because right now it just looks like an image. It doesn't really look like an ebook. That's why I went in and I had to click to find out what it was. Okay, so moving on. International ordering, I guess. Oh, now you see on this page, this is an example of color not being used correctly. And I'm sorry, Brenda, here for being harsh. I'm not really attacking your design. I'm just trying to give you constructive criticism. So the colors that we used here do not work at all with the overall look of your website. So again, we have this these bright colors. You can make them subtle and this will definitely work. So as I take a look at this page here, that just really jumps out. So I can see maybe what you're trying to do here is to highlight those buttons that you have for the different countries or regions, but there's better ways to do it. So I would have a dark background and make the buttons really light, or make the buttons dark and then make the background light. So that's how you could use contrast to really achieve that. But by doing this, it's really making this design very unnecessarily colorful. So I would go ahead and change that. And I know I've mentioned the sidebar, so please do change the sidebar as well, because all the information can be added here on the contact page. Okay, so let me take a look here, FAQ. Now for the FAQ here, I would actually use the modules that we have in Divi, because again, this ideally would work if we were collapsing this. So if we collapse it, it would work much, much better. But now I have to go again through this whole page and there's a lot of reading to do. So I would create a lot of spacing between all these elements that we have on the page. Okay, let's take a look here. So that's the FAQ, the videos page. Again, if you take a look here, I would have some thumbnails. Yeah, so I would have some thumbnails and I would actually rearrange these videos and maybe have them 3 in a row rather than have them like in a column this way. And I know I can see why you did this. You probably wanted to compensate and add also this information here on the side. But having it this way, design-wise, I wouldn't say this really works. I would have these in its own section. And then let's take a look here on the contact page. Okay, so over here on the contact page, I don't see a contact form. And I think this is very, very important. Having a contact form on your contact page is allows people that are on your site to leave information. And by doing it this way, in fact, I can see here you have your emails typed in on the actual page. Now, if you do this, I don't know if you're having a lot of spam, but this attracts a lot of spam to your email box because there's bots out there that scrape web pages for emails. So by having your email this way, you are actually attracting these spammers. So I would have a page, a contact form module, and on that contact form module, you can have a capture. So that allows these spammers to stop sending all these spam. So I'm not sure if you're getting spam, but this is what usually happens when you do that. Okay, so here, let's take a look. If I click this, I presume this will open my email client, and then click here to order from. Okay, let's take a look where this goes. Okay, again, we have broken links. I would say take a look at your broken links and make sure that everything is working fine, because that order link is not going anywhere. As you can see here, page is not found. So I would go in and take a look at all the links and make sure everything is linking. And over here on the bottom, this says 2015. I would update that and just give the impression that your website is up to date. Okay, so finally here we have the blog page. Let's take a look what's going on here on the blog page. Again, there's just too much text. There's no consistency here with the images. I would really break this up and have the blog page really have like some images which look much better than the layout that you have. Over here on this page, we just have too much text. The text is just way too much. So I would break that down with some images which are well laid out. Okay. So, and also here, just a quick one before I finalize this. Over here on the recent posts, I mean, the color is fine, but the text is way too big. So again, I would really work on my text here and make sure that it's consistent. Now you can see here on the blog, the text size is okay. I would go with this, but the moment that we go back to the home page, you'll notice that, oh, in fact, it's the same. Oh, that's because I zoomed in. Okay. No, I thought the text was different sizes. Okay. So I'm just going to take a look here and see if there's any contributions in the comments box. Mansoor, I'll talk about the 360-degree later on. I just don't want to be sidetracked with the review, so I haven't forgotten about that. I will talk about it soon. Okay. Right. Fantastic. So pretty much this summarizes the website review. I hope Brenda will take a look at that and try and apply those things that I've mentioned. And Karen says, oh, Karen from Birmingham. Nice to see you. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, Karen, I am reviewing websites. So if you have anything that you want me to review, there's a link to that in the comments box. So we can do that. Brightspark Media says use a broken link checker, a plugin like, can't pronounce that. Dead link checker. Right. Brightspark Media, thank you very much for that. So yes, you can use a website called Dead Link Checker just to check your website if there are any dead links, because this is very, very important. In fact, this is ideal before you put your website live, and every now and again you want to make sure that you check your dead links, because these will be going to web pages that don't really give any information. So thanks a lot, Brightspark Media, for that. Appreciate it. Right. Okay. So I guess it's time now to move to the second one. Yes, Karen, what you could do is just drop me, in fact, go to this URL and add your website in there. Right, I'm just checking here on Facebook and see if there's any comments. Okay, no comments so far, but no problem. Okay, so guys, please do me a favor. If you're just joining us, please do share this live stream. I'd like a lot of people to benefit from this. So I'd really, really appreciate it if you could do that for me. Just share this live stream, please. Thank you. So, right, let's take a look here. I think it's now time to move on to our second website. Okay, so let's take a look here. I just need to make sure I get the name right. Right, so our second website here is was submitted by Wayne. Right, so let's take a look at our second website. Right, so this is the website that Wayne submitted. Okay, now straight away I can tell that this website was built using Divi. Now these are one of those things that you may want to avoid. As soon as you start designing your website, change the fonts. There's hundreds of fonts that Google Fonts that you can use. These are free to use. You can also use customized fonts on your website. So that's the first thing I would do. Right, so Wayne, I'm taking a look at your website here. This blue is overpowering. It's just like the first thing that you see when you come onto this website. And really, you want to avoid that. I can see here it says Harbor Beach Resort Daytona, condo rentals. Now, this is where you want to showcase the actual rentals, or even the area of where these rental accommodations are. So what you've done now, you've really suffocated all of that by with this blue color that you have on your page. So that blue has taken away all that great stuff. Now, if you had a massive image that really shows, like the place where of the Harbor Beach Resort, that would be brilliant. that'll be fantastic. So I would go ahead and make sure I take a beautiful picture and use that as the main image on this website. So that gives people like an idea of what the place looks like. And I would say that would make a better landing page than what you have here. Now this blue, if it's part of your branding, I can see why this blue would work with the Harbour Beach Resort, because blue is a calming color. So in the color theory, this is what works. It's a calming color. It's a relaxing color. But in this case, you've overused it. So it's just way too much. I would really strip it down. Now, we also have these three images that we have here. Again, I would really go in and use Photoshop to brighten them up, make them look much better, because right now they look really, really grainy. They look really small. So these are the things that you should really show and put a lot more effort in trying to make it really stand out. Now, this border that you have here, this black border, I don't think that's really adding any value to that design-wise. So I would really do without that border. So I would totally get rid of that. Now, this red that you have here is the description. Again, it doesn't really work in this case because these colors are way too close together. I would use even a white or a very light blue in this case. Now, the button here. Again, Divi has a button module. I would recommend that you use the button module and go in and really customize it, make it look much bigger, because these buttons look way too small. And I mean, I'm 100% confident that you can really make these buttons look way much better just by making them bigger, giving them a custom color. And right now, when I look at this, I can see you're not really following a color palette. So I would start off with a color palette. And in fact, let me show you how you can choose a color palette that would work for this. So I'm just going to switch over here to my desktop. So before I continue and show you the color palette, I just want to take a look here. Okay, right. So choosing colors. Oh, in fact, before I go to choosing colors, if you take a look here, do you see how imagery is actually working really, really well on this page? And this is just to advertise headphones, but they've taken this whole section just to have a huge image. So image is everything. So you need to make sure that you use these images to communicate what you have on your page. I mean, for your website. Okay, so colors. So to choose colors, I'm just going to go to color.adobe.com. So this is the website you want to go to. Now, instead of creating a brand new color palette, there's a way you can explore. So you can see here, there are designers that have created these color palettes. So I would come here to the top and search for holiday, like that. And then let's take a look at what color palettes come up. So you can see here, holiday startup. Again, I would just go in and straight away use this color palette because it has everything that we need. It has this nice orange here, and it has these shades of blue, and we also have this light color. This I think is white or very close to a very light gray. So this is the color palette I would take straight away and put it into Divi, and then let Divi generate even more colors that I can use with my design. And again, if we switch back over here to this color palette, do you see how the blues are not like really in your face? You know, whereas this blue here is way too bright. Let me just go back to it. Right, so it's way too bright. So it needs to be a bit calmer, okay? On the top here, we have this title, Harbour Beach Resort Daytona, Congo Rentals. Again, this text here is not really easy to read on this image. So I wouldn't say that works. And you just added a tiny image here of the resorts. I would, as I mentioned, I would make this really nice and big. Okay, so let's move on to the inside pages. In fact, before I do that, we have the availability calendar here. There are calendar plugins that you can use. So rather than have this, I would actually have, oops, what's happening here? Right, so again, this calendar doesn't really work. I mean, there are more stylish calendars that you can use for this, which are much better. Now, I think this looks like the logo that's supposed to go with this company. And on the top here, we just have this little circle. I'm not sure what's going on here. So if this is the logo, make sure the logo is up here in the logo area. And also here on the header area, give this area here some breathing space because it looks like you've just suffocated that header area. Okay, so now it's time to move on to the next page. So here I'm on Yohost. Let's take a look at Yohost. Okay, again, we take a look at this page. I would have a nice big image in the background and then have this on the side with the description. We have too much white space. I know in design white space is very important, but I would add even more context here and make this page a bit more dynamic. Okay, so if, over here we have the photos. I guess this is the gallery. Again, the gallery, the images are tiny. I would make these thumbnails even bigger, and I would get rid of this border. I don't think it's bringing any benefit to this. Even the drop shadow, it just doesn't work in this case. So I would get rid of that. So let's see what happens if I click on the image. Okay, so that's good. It's a slider. Now look at this. Just by looking at this image, it's fantastic. It gives me an idea of what the place looks like. These are the type of images that you want to use on your homepage or even other insider pages. And I'm sure there's quite a few more here. You see, like an image like this, I would say this is beautiful, but make sure that it's nice and big and vibrant. I would go into Photoshop and make some adjustments to that. In fact, I have a course, a Photoshop course for web designers that teaches you how to customize your images, resize them, make them look a bit more vibrant, because this looks a bit flat. So I would really go into Photoshop and play around with some settings and make this come to life. Let's take a look here. See, now that's a beautiful image, but again, the angle, I would retake that image and add more images here in my gallery. Okay, and instead of having this blue, I would have a nice faded color in the background. In fact, let me see if I can give you an example of that, because that was in my last tutorial. In fact, I'll have to put it up later. I don't think I have the website straight away. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick check here and make sure that I'm not missing any comments. Okay. Right, so let's go back over here. Now, there's a question here in the comments, and the question is this a realty company? Now, this is very important, and I like, Rose, thank you very much for that question. When it comes to websites, I think I mentioned this in the previous review. The website, the landing page needs to be able to describe what the company does, what the website is about in 3 seconds. So if we're having to ask, that means that we need to do a better job of making sure that this landing page or the home page tells us what this company is about. And although it's here, it's hidden, you know, you can't really read this information here easily. And there's no call to actions as well. So that's something that I would improve on that. Okay, so I'm just going to go. Oh, so we have more photos here. Okay, so we only have one photo. We also have a video tour. In fact, let me just switch over to my screen. So let's take a look here on the video. That is beautiful. That's a beautiful image. You see, now these images here look really nice in the video. So if you have these images somewhere on your computer, or you have them somewhere, I would start using these kind of images. These look beautiful. Now these give us a lot more context. So I would have these type of images rather than have these little tiny grainy ones. So yeah, so these ones are not really like well taken. Okay, I guess all this is about the photos. Yes, it's more photos. Okay, again, I would say when it comes to the images in your gallery, make sure that they're all the same size as well, because right now I can see we have different sizes. Sometimes we're having really small images, and then sometimes we're having bigger images. So I would go in and make sure that all the images are the same size. Okay, and then finally here we have the contact page. Okay, we have a contact form. That's great. And I would have even an address over here, even a map, because these images here, I think we've had quite a lot of them already. So there's no need to add these three images here on the contact page. And what would also work on the contact page here is frequently asked questions. I would add frequently asked questions for people that want to visit this holiday resort, and also testimonials. So those are the things that I think need to be added onto this website. So quickly to summarize, choose a color palette, and from that color palette, Divi also allows you to, Divi also generates some colors that work well together with your initial color palette. So that means you will not be using colors that are outside the colors that are generated, because there's an algorithm that generates these colors. So I would say choose a color palette, and that should guide you through your website design. Again, when it comes to the images, use high-res images. It's very, very important that you use high-res images, because these communicate way much better on your page. Okay, if you're having titles, make sure your titles are nice and big, and state what the website is about on the home page, because that is very, very important. So don't leave your visitors asking questions when they come to your website, as one of our viewers was asking what kind of website this is. So I would definitely go and make those changes. But overall, it's a great effort, and I hope you take these quick tips and apply them to your website. And once you've done those changes, please do let me know, or do let us know, and I can also take a quick look at it and do a before and after. Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look here on the comments and see if we have anything coming through. Now, you can also ask questions in the comments box, so feel free to do that. Ratapula says, I made a website 10 months ago, but in Spanish. Yeah, submit your website so we can take a look at it, if you don't mind. Oh, I didn't realize that Wayne was actually watching. Thank you very much, Wayne, for your for submitting your website to us. It's great. So when you once you've made those changes, do let us know so we can do a before and after. Okay, so it's time now to move on to the third website for today. Right. I just want to make sure I get the name right again. Let's take a look. I think it's pronounced Powell. And this is the website I'll be reviewing now. Okay, so this website is submitted. It was submitted by Powell. And I would like to say, Powell, thank you very much for submitting your website for review. Okay, so first things first. Over here on the top, we can see that we have a problem. I think you may want to go in and fix this, because as I scroll through this, there's something stuck up there, and I can't make out what it is. In fact, let me zoom in so you can actually see. Okay, so I'm actually zooming in. Right, so there's something stuck up there, but I can't make out what it is. So that's the first thing I would say, go in and fix. Okay, now, when we take a look here at this page, The image that you've used is brilliant. I like that. And also the main message here, that's the value proposition. I think this is great, helping you minimize the spread of fire and maximize the safety on your premises. I think this is brilliant because it tells me straight away what this is about, because just by looking at this image, I'm looking at this city, I'm just thinking, is this a business type website? Is it a website about something commercial? So now that we have context here, that's even better. But I would even go ahead and even add an image that relates to this actual message, okay, about fire safety. So that's the kind of image that I'll have here, rather than have this image that you have here on the background. So, all in all, this is a great effort having this large image here. Right, over here on the top, let me see if I can click this button and see what happens. Okay, so I've closed that. I don't know what it was. Now, over here on the logo, here we have this red and also the name of the company. What I would actually do is I would make this slightly smaller because I can see the logo pixelating, and that's not good. So make sure you have the right size of the logo and don't enlarge it to a point where it starts losing the quality. So it's pixelated here, and that doesn't look really good. And also here on Fire Solution, this logo here where you say Fire Solution, I don't think that's necessary. This can be your logo without actually describing what it is here on the bottom. So I would just have that as the main symbol for the company and remove where it says Fire Solution and just have it like that. And also your logo needs to be dynamic. You have different types of logos, the one that works on a dark background, the one which has color, and the one that works on a light background. So in this case, because we have a slightly dark background here, I would actually have this symbol here in white and add a bit more space between the symbol and the actual logo. So that would, I think, work great for that. Okay, right. So moving on here, we have these three things. I think this is fine, but I would remove this shadow. To be honest, there's no need for the actual shadow. And what you've done here, you've gone in straight to give us information about where to find phone, email. I would even go into more detail about what your company does. I know you have a services page here. In fact, I haven't clicked on it, so let me just click on it. Okay, that's great. So we have this services page. So what I would do is I would take these associations that we have here, these logos, add them on the main page, because your main page is very, very important. So over here on the main page, I would find a section, add those over here somewhere. And then I want to have like the main services here in blurbs with a brief description and a little icon to say what those services are. And then when someone clicks on that, it takes them now onto your services page. So that's what I would do. This footer here is fine. There's nothing bad I can say about it, but only a part of one thing. In fact, it's not a bad thing, but it's something that can be improved. I don't know if you can see this, but you notice that the footer here is competing with the header section in terms of the colors and the image in the background. So what I would do here is I would keep this information as it is. That's perfect. But I would have a solid color here on the bottom and just make sure that the image is what we have here on the top. Okay, so that's what I would do here. I would not add an image because that's really competing with what we have here on the top. Other than that, that's fine here on the footer. Okay. Now let's move on to, in fact, before we move on, this contact us page, button, it's unnecessarily big. It can be nice and small, and we also don't need this white around this button. I would say use a complementary color, or even like this red as the color here for the contact us. And also, I would not say contact us here. I would just leave this as the main sort of value proposition, and then below here a bit more context into what this company does. And then once people have read and they've gone into this, then they can contact you, because I think this is way too early in the process for anyone to want to right away contact you just by reading this heading. This could be even like view our services, and this could take you to the services page. So that's what I would do rather than have to contact us. Okay, let's go on to the services page, because this page is quite interesting here. Right, so this is beautiful. I like the consistency with the large images. And again, if we take a look here, you can see that this image now has context. So I really like what you've done here. That's brilliant. Right, over here, this I would definitely get rid of this contact us information. There's no need to have that. These images are beautiful. Again, they're giving us context as to what this company is about, and also the description that we have here. And over here as well, I would reduce the letter spacing that we have here. I really like what you've done here, but over here, these icons, they need to be smaller because they're way too big. And I'm not sure if this information here is part of this blurb, but if it is, I would say I would redesign this, because it looks like it's broken. It doesn't look like it fits anywhere. You know, I'm talking about this information right here that we have on the bottom here. Okay, that doesn't really work with that. So if you're going to have elements, make sure that the elements fit well together with whatever information that comes with it. So if this is not part of what we have here on the blurbs, I would have this on its own section. Okay. And this image as well, again, it's fighting with this image that we have here on the top. So I would really have a solid color that goes here in the background, because we have a beautiful image here on the top, and then it's like a repeat of what's happening here. So I would have a solid color here, and also a solid color on the footer. Now, if you want to make changes to the footer where it affects the whole website, I would create the footer and save it as a global item, and then just add it onto all your pages on your website. So that would really work much faster. Okay, so before I continue, I'm just going to take a quick look here at the comments. Monique says, so you can repeat the services offered on the services page onto the home page, landing page. Am I understanding you correctly? Right. In most cases, when you have a website that offers services, ideally you want to have a brief description of the services that you offer on the page, on the landing page, and then have a little button that says learn more. So when they click on learn more, then it goes into even more detail on the actual services page. So that's what I mean by that. So you don't want to have your services page information on the home page. No, that's not that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just have the blurbs or just little description text of the services that you offer. But this is just a brief description. So when someone clicks on it, it takes them now to a page where it goes into more detail. So that just brings a bit more context onto that landing page or that home page. So that makes it have a bit more information, but useful information. Okay. Rose says not enough content to know what the company is about. What do you have to offer? Right. very good comment. And but in this case, I'm not sure which website you're referring to, but here on this website, take a look. Okay, when we go on this website, let's go on the home page. Yes, so this is where I was saying, right here we have a good title, but if we went into more detail here on the bottom, that will give us a bit more context as to what the company does and what the company is about. So that's why I was saying that instead of having contact information, say more about the company, even have testimonials if possible. That would really help this homepage. Okay, so I think we're done with the services. Let's go on to the projects. Right, again, I like the consistency here on the top area, but this word project, in fact, let me test this and see if this is responsive, because that's very important, because I think that text is way too big. Okay, do you notice that? This now is not responsive, so what I would do is I would go in and make sure that this looks great on all devices. So I would make sure that for the mobile device, it has a specific size, and on the desktop, it also has a specific size, because this is way too big. You know, the word projects here is way too big. I would just make this slightly smaller, even here on the services page. In fact, that's something that I could have mentioned. You could do with having this slightly smaller. It's way too big. Okay, and again, what's happening over here on the right, remove all this contact information and have some images here that can bring some context into what this company is about. Okay. Okay, so the map, again, with the map, there's no need for a drop shadow. I would actually have this map fill in the whole section. So there's no need for that. It just making it's actually bringing a lot more complexity to the page. So I would get rid of that. And also, as I mentioned, these titles, they need you need to reduce the letter spacing, and perhaps maybe even add a bit more color to this. Okay, let's take a look at the Contact Us page. Okay, again, make this smaller, and I love this image here. It's brilliant. It looks good. And I can see here now, this is what I'm talking about. You see how you have your map over here? That's how it needs to look like on the other page that I've just spoken about. And there's no need now for this little tiny map. And instead of what you could add here on this area is perhaps maybe even like social media icons. So that's it. That is what would fill in that gap. So there's no need to have two maps here, because I can see here that these maps seem like, I mean, they're pretty much similar in what they're trying to achieve. Okay. And again, I would have this contact page on a solid background. And as I mentioned in the previous website, if there are any FAQs, I would add some FAQs here on this contact page. And the way you've done this Find Us phone, you don't really need this. I mean, this is just adding more complexity to this. I would just add this phone number on this actual section that we have this contact page. So add the phone number. And as I mentioned before, you don't need to have these emails because there's an email form already on the page. And again, this address can be here on this section. Okay, so pretty much that's all I have to say here. And on the top here as well, I'll add a bit of letter spacing to this information here, just to make it easier to read. So pretty much that's all I have to say for this website. So Powell, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Thank you very much for submitting your website. And I hope you take my constructive criticism. And by the way, just so that I mention this, when I go through and do these reviews, I'm doing it from a good place because I'm trying to give you, like tips and ideas to make it look better. So don't take it personal, please. I know sometimes it may come across as if it's too harsh, but that's not my intention. So I hope you take it in a positive way. Okay, so I think that's all we can do today. I think 3 websites will be great. Now, I'm just going to switch over here and take a look and see if we have any questions. Okay, right. Wayne says, could you provide an advance notice of date and times of shows? I nearly missed this episode. Yes, Wayne. Actually, what happened is last week when I suggested that I was going to do these live reviews, to be honest, I had no idea how this was going to turn out. So I was really excited when I saw quite a lot of responses, because when I checked my email, I mean, right now as we speak, I think I've got about maybe 10 reviews. I've done 3 today, so there's about 7 more to go. So this is fantastic, and I think this should be an ongoing thing. And I'd also like to have each and every one of you contribute to this. So if there's anything that you think should be added to this, please do give me your suggestions, because I'm really excited to do these reviews. At first, I was a bit nervous, not knowing how people would respond to this, but so far the response is positive. So I think this is something that we need to do, because sometimes when you go through tutorials and you watch tutorials and then you start building your website, you may not see these finer details unless someone is looking at it from a different perspective. So I think this is a good thing that we are adding onto this site. So in terms of what Wayne suggested here, definitely I'm going to have a page where we have specific dates where we have these reviews, so that no one misses it. So the time, I would say 6:30 Eastern for definite. And this is going to be on Wednesdays. So that's when I'll do the reviews. But if by popular demand you prefer having reviews rather than Q&As, I would have these reviews both on Saturdays and Wednesdays. So it's up to you, the feedback that I get from you guys. So if you prefer to have these reviews rather than the Q&As Saturdays, I would have the Q&As on Saturdays and have the reviews every Wednesday. But both times are 6:30 Eastern. So what I will do as well is I'm going to find a way to add this onto the website as a reminder. So you can click on remind, so it reminds you when the show is about to get live. So I just need to work out how that's done on YouTube. And also, if you haven't subscribed onto my website, diviuniversity.com, go ahead and subscribe, because I always send an email out just before the show starts. So that's one way you can get notified. But again, I know having a definite time is great. So I will make sure I will be on time and here every Saturday and Wednesdays, live 6:30 Eastern. Okay. Adam here says, hi Mac, I have a question. If you're starting out as a web designer but don't have a current portfolio, should you upload a personal website or hold back until you have a portfolio for work? Right. Adam, that's a very, very good question. And this is something that I struggled with when I started off with web design. Now, I would say hold off first, because people want to see what you've actually designed before you can say, I design websites. Now, I know this is a quite a tricky situation, because you do need the websites to show. So how do you show the websites if you haven't, built them? So there should be definitely a starting point. So in this case, what you need to do is to do maybe 3 or 4 websites on the cheap or even free. But what you would do is find companies that you know for a fact are getting a lot of visitors to the website, and they have a lot of eyeballs on the company. So I would go into your local area and just approach some companies which may have a lot of people visiting it, and just say, look, I'm willing to redesign your website for you. Or if they don't have a website, just tell them that you want to design their website for free, but in return, if they can give you a review, So that's how I would start it off. So have 4 websites, and then those are the 4 websites that you add onto your portfolio, and then say to people, like, I designed websites, look at the website that I've designed, and then you take them onto your portfolio. But pitching yourself as someone who designs website without a portfolio, it's a hard sell. So I'd rather have a portfolio first and then go ahead and start pitching. But to start off that portfolio, just design 4 websites for free. And as I mentioned, find websites which are companies that are quite popular, like in your area, where you know people can visit those, and then be the name behind those websites. And that should be your starting point. I hope that helps. Brenda says, can I see a replay to this? Absolutely. This website, this video will be on my YouTube channel, so you can watch the replay on that. So Rose says, but we set it up on Flywheel. I'm not sure what you mean by you set it up on Flywheel. I know Flywheel is a hosting company, but I'm just trying to go back here to see if that's related to a question. But anyway, I don't see the question. Right, okay. Sadaf says, full width section background is not responsive. How can you fix it? Right, so the first thing I would do is I would take a look at the image that you're using. So if you're using an image which is way too big, you may have an issue where the sides are cut off. But the rule of thumb is for background section images, it's 1920 by 1080. That's the size I use. Normally that works really well for me. Now, if you're still having problems with that, this may be an issue with maybe even other plugins that are conflicting with Divi. So just take a quick look at that. But that's the first thing that I would do if it's not responding. Okay, right. I'm just going to check over here and see. Okay. Right, so I guess, in fact, let me just go through what I spoke about in the beginning of this live show. Great news. Finally, custom post types was released yesterday. This is a feature that I was waiting for Divi to release, and they did that yesterday. So now we have custom post types. So what I will be doing tomorrow, I'll be busy trying to play around with the custom post types and see what sort of layouts that I can come up with for WooCommerce and also for LearnDash. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to work well. But I'm really excited about this because I've held back doing some courses because of this update. So now that we have this update, I'll also be doing the course on how to create an e-learning website right away. So in 3 weeks time or 4 weeks, that should be complete. And I'll also be updating you. For those of you that want to create an e-learning website, I'll be keeping you posted on that and letting you know the progress with that. So I'm really excited with the custom post types. And also this episode is brought to you by DiviCake.com. Check out their huge selection of Divi themes, layouts, and plugins. The link to that is in the description below. Now, DiviCake also has beautifully designed layouts. So if you want a good starting point with your website, I would recommend that you go to DiviCake.com. Right. So what else here? The other thing is I would really like your help. Now, this show, I would like to give it a name. So far, I have reviewed my website. okay, as the show. So this will be the show every week, and the show is going to be called Review My Website. But I'm not really sure if that name is a good name. So can you help me choose a name for this show? I'm not talking about the whole YouTube channel, but just this show where we do the reviews. I'd like to give it a name, but if you can give me some ideas of what names I can name this show, that'll be fantastic. And if we could do it today, that would be even fantastic. So if you can give me your suggestions, that'll be great. So it's the name for this particular show, the one that we're reviewing websites. So what name do you think we should give it? At the moment, I have Review My Website. But I mentioned this to my wife, and she was saying, Review My Website sounds like you're reviewing your own website. So I'm in two minds now. To be honest, I'm confused. So Sadaf, quad menu. I'm not sure what quad menu is. I haven't used that. Mac Attack Review. Wayne said site review. So just call it site review. Okay, that's a good suggestion. Site review. Oh, nice and simple. So we could say, yeah, welcome to site review. Okay. Okay, live reviews. That's another good one. Okay. Actually, it's I'm glad I'm actually asking this this question, because it looks like I was trying to overcomplicate things. So live reviews, site reviews. So yeah, that sounds quite good. Okay, there's also a suggestion here. Critique the site with Mac. These are great suggestions, by the way. Renee also says integrate your name. Okay, that's a good suggestion as well. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if I should add the name there, because it's going to sound like Mac, like the Mac, the company, Apple. So I don't think the name would work for that reason. But then again, Monique says, Liban says Baldy. Really? Come on. Monique does say a very good point here. You need to incorporate your name in whatever you choose. Branding. Yes, it'll be good for branding. But again, if I use my first name, Augustine, then that's a bit too long. You know, that's why I don't really use that name for any of my branding stuff, because it's a long name. But live web design reviews. Mac is back. Okay, Renee says Mac is not Mac. Okay, so, but yeah, I guess you're right, because I will be having that as, I mean, the name will be actually on the thumbnail as Mac site reviews or Mac live reviews. So yeah, I like that. Okay, so these are great suggestions here. We know who you are. That's great. Cool. Okay, so I have some suggestions here. That's great. Yeah, that's a good name. I definitely consider like having my name on there. Definitely. Okay, so if you want to add your website onto, if you want to have your website reviewed on the show, there's a link in the description where you can add your website, and I'll add it to the list of websites that need to be reviewed. And on Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern, I will be live again doing a review. I'm going to try and do 3 reviews per session rather than do 1, because in my first episode I only did 1, and I think that was quite long. Although I think it was Tosan liked the review, but I think it was quite long. So what I'll do is, I think 3 is good, and then we'll try to stick to about an hour and on the show, and try and cover as much as I can. So do leave your website if you need them to be reviewed in the comments box, and in the link in the comments box, and I will add it to the list of websites that need to be reviewed. Liban says, which is better to advertise your company, SEO or PPC? Right. Very good question. So one of them is a marathon, and the second one, or the other one, is a sprint. So pay-per-click, you go to YouTube or Google, and straight away, you pay, you get all your traffic, but it's expensive. SEO is the easier way out, but it takes very, very long to achieve the rankings, and there's also a skill set that's needed, for that. So if your website is new, you don't have domain authority, so you won't be ranking for websites that have been out there for, let's say, 5 years or even 2 years. So it just depends on the keywords, but generally speaking, SEO would take you longer to rank your website, because there are quite a lot of things that you need in order for you to rank your website. Like, for example, backlinks from authority websites. That's one key indicator that you need. So if your website is new, or you don't have any great backlinks, it's going to be very difficult for you to rank your website. So the quickest way is to do the sprint, pay YouTube, Google, or Facebook to get your traffic, or just do it the long way. But if it's a business, I would go for pay-per-click. That's what would work. And this is something that I'll also be experimenting with very soon to promote my courses on divuniversity.com, because it's a fairly new domain. I think it's almost a year, or just over a year old, and I don't really get the SEO working on my website. So I'm going to be doing some advertising and see how that works. And to be honest, I don't mind sharing those results with you, the audience, as well. So that's my quick answer to that. So if you have money, promote it using pay-per-click. If not, it's SEO, but bear in mind that it's going to take you very long for you to rank, unless, of course, you put in a lot of effort and you get very good backlinks. Liban says, don't you think pay-per-click is a bit too expensive for starting up a business? The answer to that is no. The reason is pay-per-click, of course, if you're promoting your website, you need to be selling something for this to make sense. So let's say you are selling web design services, right? And each website that you design, you're charging £1,000 or $1,000. Okay, let's keep it simple, $1,000. So ideally, what you want to do is to spend, let's say, $500 on pay-per-click with Google, And out of that 500, let's say you get like 5,000 or 10,000 visitors to your website and one person signs up. That means you're making 500 profit. So that's how it works. So don't look at the 500 and say that's a lot of money. Look at how much that $500 or 500 pounds is bringing in. So if 500 pounds is bringing you one customer, you're good to go. So that's how it works. But if you don't have a product to sell, then of course you'll be losing a lot of money, because what's the point of getting people to come to your website? I hope that makes sense. Sorry for calling you Baldy. It's okay. I mean, I have a bald head. It's all right. Right. Let's take a look here. Okay. I am really, as much as I'd like to stay on and continue, I think we've covered quite a lot of things. So do look forward to more tutorials coming up, very soon. Tomorrow, I'll be doing a tutorial on custom post types. So I'll be posting that. So I'm really excited. So I can't wait to start playing around with the custom post types, which have just been released. So I'll be working on that. And then also go to divauniversity.com. Make sure you subscribe, because by subscribing, you'll be notified when I release new tutorials. And also, even on this YouTube channel, make sure you hit the bell notification and the subscribe button, because when I go live, you'll be notified when I go live. So I'm really looking forward to my next live show on Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. So I'll be doing more reviews. So if you want your website reviewed, there's a link in the description. Click on that and send me the details to your website, and I'll add it to the list. Okay, so to each and every one of you that have joined me today on this live show, I'd like to say thank you very much. I really appreciate you being on the show. It makes it more entertaining and much more exciting to to interact and communicate with all of you. So I'm really looking forward to doing the next show. So thank you very much once again. Enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you very much, guys, and take care.